Hi, everyone. Howdy. Frankie here. New West Reset. Hello. How's it going? Welcome back. Thank you very much for shooting in, joining a fella here for another one, another live one. New West Reset Live, episode 121. Today we're looking at the last old world corporation. Not literally, but one of the last. The Hudson's Bay Company, formerly the Hudson's Bay Trading Company. We just know it as the Bay up here in Canada, eh? So yeah, we're going to be having a look at that, and as per usual, links below for everything we're going to cover. So thanks for winding down your weekend here with yours truly on this Sunday, June the 8th, 2025. Just a titch, a tad maybe, past 5 p.m. It's local time, of course, mountain time, because we're coming at you live from Purdy, Alberta, southwestern Alberta, Calgary, Alberta, Canada land up there, eh? So thanks for joining, buddy. Appreciate it. It's hot. I was trying to think of a dramatic way to put it, but there's just no two ways about it. It's hot. It's hotter than Satan's taint out there. 27 degrees Celsius. It's around 90 Fahrenheit. Yeah. It went from meh to whoopee right quick there, bud. Beautiful day here today. Sunny. Little bit, a tad again, or a wee bit, or a titch of smoke in the air from wildfires. Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Northern Alberta, and I think British Columbia as well. So, the quadfecta, is that a thing? Quadfecta? Can't even say it, so it's probably not a thing. The quadfecta of fire. That's how you know it's summer in Canada, eh? Because the snow melts and everything catches on fire somehow. I don't know. Which is weird because we've had rain lately. Anyway, could be worse. We just can't have nice things up in Canada land, eh? We can't. We have long, cold, dark winters. Many parts of the country from coast to coast to coast. Very chilly in the winter. So you think, wow, pretty short summer. Let them enjoy it there, bud. But no, gotta have this like the 6th year in a row. Wildfires, forest fires, making it smoky in the summer. Guy wants to go out, go for a bike ride, go camping. Nope, fire ban. You can't go camping. Well, you can if you have a camp stove and stuff. I don't camp like that. I cook right over I make the fire and I put the food in the fire. Anyway, could be worse. Could be 10 degrees Celsius and smoky. So, I'm just a silver lining kind of guy. Nope, not really. Anyway, let's say hello to everybody in the chat. Say howdy to everyone. See how everyone's doing. Hippie Shake is here. Howdy, Hippie. Good to see you. Kathy Broughton in the box. Who else is here? Let me see. Title's here. Hey, guy up there with the sunburn. Putting on the calamine lotion and the zinc oxide. It's Title. Yeah. As you were. Good to see you, Title. Hello. Baha is here. Welcome. Channel Fitty Tree in the box. Hello. Howdy, Phil. Phil Henry is here. Hey, Phil, when you get a sec, can you email me? I'd like to get your email if I may be so bold. Water the tree. Hello. Howdy. Welcome. How's it going? So, Lost and Found. There he is. There's Eric. Lost and Found History Rewritten. Hello. How's it going there, bud? Deanne is here as well. Good to see you, Deanne. So thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining me here, for the Sunday Fun Day. Woo! Thank you, Phil. Appreciate that. Links below for, how you can get a hold of a guy. Email and all the socials, all the social media things. Thank you very much, Yippee, for sharing those. Yes, MeWe and BitChute. And of course, as usual, broadcasting simultaneously live over on that green fighting platform, the Bumble. So welcome to everybody on the YouTubes and the Bumble. Hello, hello. Appreciate it. Thank you. Sassy Cindy 76 is here. Lake Ontario, or Kawartha Lakes in Ontario. That's in sort of like the Eastern Canada there for you folks that don't know there, eh? So yeah, speaking of links below, we're going to, there's pretty much just one link. It's the Wikipedia, as always. Like to get our shits and giggles by referencing Wikipedia to see what they have to say about the Hudson's Bay Company. Of course, my location map is there as well. Cousin Vinny put that together. He's recovering nicely from some nothing. Don't worry, he's fine. He had some surgery, but he's good. He's recovering. Maybe once the smoke clears, and I guess once the smoke clears, in both cases, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, sorry, got carried away. Cousin Vinny and I can get out there and do some boots on the ground and whatnots. Speaking of which, every Friday, boots on the ground. Every Wednesday, vintage footage. And every Sunday, live here for the show. And you get a sneak peek of that Wednesday vintage footage video here on the live show. Take a mid-show break. We'll have a look at that as well. If you haven't already, consider giving a fellow one of these. Appreciate it. It just helps to push me out into the thing. So thank you very much. Thanks to everybody who's already shared and subscribed. A bunch of new friends of the channel as of late. So welcome. Thanks. Appreciate your support. If you're watching this after the live, really appreciate your support as well. So thank you. Thank you. All right. Enough goofing around here. Let's get down to brass tacks with this Hudson's Bay Company. One of the world's oldest companies, and definitely in like the top 3 North American oldest companies. It's Canada's oldest, so that's what counts there, eh, bud? Is how old is Canada land here. So we'll have a look at what the Wikipedia say about it. Of course, it's always good for fun. Hudson's Bay Company. Hudson's Bay Company, or HBC, originally the Governor and Company of Adventurers of England, trading into Hudson's Bay. That was the name of their company. It's a bit of a mouthful putting that on your business card there, eh, bud? Well, who do you work for? I work for the Governor and Company of Adventurers of England, trading into Hudson's Bay Company. And yourself? J.C. Penney. Oh, that's marvelous. Yeah, so they just later switched it to Hudson's Bay Company. It's a Canadian holding company of department stores and the oldest corporation in North America. It was the owner of the namesake Hudson's Bay department stores, colloquially the Bay. It also owns or manages approximately 3.7 million square meters or 40 million square feet of gross leasable real estate through its HBC Properties and Investments business, yada, yada, yada. Previously owned Saks and their, discount chain Saks off Fifth in the States. So So after incorporation by royal charters, in other words, the king put it down officially on a piece of paper and had his royal scribe etch this upon some parchment. Make it official with my seal. So it was issued in 1670 by King Charles II of Scotland, England, and Ireland. The company was granted a right of, quote, sole trade and commerce, unquote, over an expansive area of land known as Rupert's Land. That's what Canada Land was called before it was called Canada there, eh? They referred to it as Rupert's Land. So it comprised much of the Hudson's Bay drainage basin. I'm sure you're all familiar with the Hudson's Bay. Big, huge bay there north of Ontario and west of Quebec, northeast of Manitoba, right there beside Nunavut. Stumbled upon by the sailor and explorer, Hudson. I know, shocking, right? The name and whatnot. They were looking for the Northwest Passage, of course, as always. Anyways, this right gave the company a commercial monopoly over that area. The HBC functioned as the de facto government in Rupert's Land for nearly 200 years, until the HBC relinquished control of the land to Canada in 1869 as part of the Deed of Surrender, authorized by the Rupert's Land Act of 1868. That's because Canada became Canada Land in 1867. Thank you, Phil. Appreciate that, sir. Appreciate that. So at its peak, the company controlled the fur trade. There it is. Throughout much of the English and later British-controlled North America. By the mid-19th century, the company evolved into a mercantile business, selling a wide variety of products from furs to fine homeware in a small number of sales shops, as opposed to trading posts across Canada Land. Yeah, they start off with these trading posts, wood framed, basically looking like a house, sometimes a log cabin, even. Supposedly, that's what the Hudson's Bay Trading Company outpost was here in Calgary, which we'll have a look at, was a couple of log cabins. Anyways, these shops were the first steps towards the department stores the company owns today. Well, it did. They filed for bankruptcy, so they're gone now. But anyway, the department stores continuously operated for 144 years, including expansions internationally through acquisitions. All right, so there's Rupert's Land. You can see it right here, this purple area. Why do they use purple? It's like the most floofy color ever. Anyway, so yeah, this was Rupert's Land. So you had Upper Canada and Lower Canada, which was English and French Canada. But Canada wasn't Canada yet. And all this was, parts unknown, apparently. So James Hudson, I think is what his name was. Sir, probably Sir James Hudson, if you please, Frankie. Looking for the, Northwest Passage. Stumbled into Hudson's Bay and later James Bay. But anyways, York Factory was the headquarters here in Rupert's Land for the Hudson's Bay Company. So they would send explorers and fur trappers out to all these regions by canoe and on foot and horseback and mule and donkey and oxen and you name it. You name it. They'd have quote-unquote Indian guides or Métis guides. Métis are half indigenous and half European, British, Scottish, or French. And they would explore, and trap furs and whatnot, get them their beaver pelts, y'all. Got to get them beaver pelts. Speak of Cousin Vinny. There he is, watching hockey. Yeah, I didn't even check. I didn't even check on the hockey. I was working on a couple of projects here, bud? So I didn't even check on the hockey. I don't even know what's going on so far, except for I know that I think Canada's origin story. People needed hats. That's right. They needed that shaved. Here it comes. They needed that shaved beaver to make those top hats. You see, that's what they needed. Because shaved beaver is very important, apparently, for a hat, right? Cousin Vinny.
So now you know what I'm talking about with the whole New West Reset thing.
No.
What?
No.
What I said about Frankie Fingers. The Frankie Fingers and New West Reset are the same.
Wait, what? Anyways, it's good to see you, Vinny. Glad you're feeling better, recuperating and whatnot. Anyway, so yeah, they, Hudson's Bay Company controlled all of this. But basically, Canada went from the boundary here in the here in the purple. Canada was just, and then the Great Lakes and this. So all this was, again, parts unknown, supposedly. So for much of the 17th century, French colonists in North America, based in New France, which is basically Quebec, operated a de facto monopoly in North American fur trade. Two French traders, Pierre Esprit Radisson, Esprit is French for spirit, and Médard de Groseilliers, okay, his brother-in-law, learned from the Cree indigenous peoples that the best fur country lay north and west of Lake Superior, and that there was a frozen sea still further north. Assuming this was Hudson's Bay, they sought French backing for a plan to set up a trading post in the bay in order to reduce costs of moving furs overland. According to Peter C. Newman, whoever that guy is, this salty-looking bugger, concerned that exploration of Hudson's Bay route might shift the focus of the fur trade away from the St. Lawrence River, the French governor, Marquis d'Argenson, refused to grant the coureurs de bois, the mountain men basically, permission to scout the distant territory. But they did it anyways. A year later, they returned to Montreal with premium furs and said, say, and then all was forgiven because everybody's going to make that money. They're going to make that money. So, determined to establish trade in the area, they approached a group of English colonial merchants this time in Boston over there, down in Boston, where it's wicked dark. And you pack your car in a car pack. Sorry, I know. It's terrible. Anyway, the Bostonians agreed with the plan's merits, but their speculative voyage in 1663 failed when their ship ran into pack ice in the Hudson Strait. Yeah, well, it depends what time you go there, bud. It's Canada. You're not going to go up here in November up there now. You got to go in like June, pal. Maybe July. Boston-based English Commissioner Colonel George Cartwright learned of the expedition and brought the two to England to raise financing. Radisson and Groseilliers arrived in London in 1665 at the height of the Great Plague. Oh, no. So why were they even allowed to enter London if they're having didn't they have the walled city all, the city doors all locked up? We got the plague going on in here, buddy. You want to, sorry, I'm doing my Canadian talk. It would have been a British guy, a fancy British lord, one of his minions guarding the gate.
I say, who goes there, sir? 'Tis no entry upon this time. Got the bloody plague, don't you see? Gadzooks, man.
Sherry Ives is here. Howdy, Sherry. Good to see you. Chassis Nick's in the box. Hiya, Chassis. Hello, hello. Vaughn's here. Good to see you. Good to see you, buddy. How you doing? Thanks for shooting in. Scott Pike in the box. Hello, hello, hello. Kimmy, how you doing? Thanks for shooting in. So, anyways, they're just allowed to walk into London from overseas during the height of the plague. Sure, okay, I totally believe you. I completely and totally believe you. Nope.
I don't believe you.
So anyways, they met and gained sponsorship of Prince Rupert, hence Rupert Land. Prince Rupert introduced the two to his cousin, the reigning king, Charles II. In 1668, the English expedition acquired two ships, the Nonsuch and the Eaglet. So we get a nice separate page for the Nonsuch, but Bubkiss, diddly squat on the Eaglet, apparently. Okay. To explore possible trade into Hudson's Bay. Groseilliers sailed on Nonsuch, commanded by Captain Zachariah Gillam, while Eaglet was commanded by Captain William Stannard and accompanied by Radisson. On the 5th of June, 1668, both ships left port at Deptford, England. The Eaglet was forced to turn back off the coast of Ireland. That's why they didn't bother making a Wikipedia page for it, I guess. The Nonsuch continued to James Bay. That's in the lower portion of Hudson's Bay there. Southern portion of Hudson's Bay. Oh, thank you. There it is. Where its explorers founded in 1668 the first fort on Hudson's Bay, Charles Fort, at the mouth of the Rupert River. Later became known as Rupert House and developed as the community of present-day Waskaganish, Quebec. Both the fort and the river were named after the sponsor of the expedition, Prince Rupert of the Rhine, one of the major investors and soon to become the new company's first governor. So they founded in 1668 a fort in Hudson's Bay, and they named it Charles Fort. Yeah, how much you want to bet? Yeah, that's exactly right. Scott Pike's got it right there. Founded fort, you say? Mm-hmm. Bet you dollars to good Canadian donuts. It's a star fort too, Bob. There's a couple of star forts up in and around, or remains of, in and around Hudson's Bay and James Bay. Anyhow. Both the fort and the river were named after the sponsor. Got that part. After a successful trading expedition of winter of 68 and 69, Nonsuch returned to England on October 1669 with the first cargo of fur resulting from trade in the Hudson Bay. The bulk of the fur, worth 1,233 pounds
sterling, if you please, good sir,
was sold to Thomas Glover, one of London's most prominent furriers. This and subsequent purchases by Glover proved the viability of the fur trade in Hudson's Bay. So it was still worth it with all that markup that people just couldn't get enough furs. It's flying off the shelves. That it was worth boning up the money to fund multiple ships sailing across the Atlantic Ocean from Ireland or England, probably Ireland, to maybe Newfoundland to stop, and then, up and down into Hudson Bay to pick up fur and drop off supplies. I don't know, man. I only got 1,200 pounds. That to cost more to send two ships with a full crew, more than 1,200 pounds, didn't it? I mean, I don't know. I'm not an old-timey sailor. But yeah, for beavers, well, they got other fur, probably rabbits and deer and elk and moose and bear. Mink and all kinds of other marmots. Hey, man, nice marmot. Anyways, the Royal Charter from King Charles II incorporated the Governor and Company of Adventurers of England trading into Hudson's Bay on May 2nd, 1670. The charter granted the company a monopoly over the region, drained by all rivers and streams flowing into Hudson's Bay in northern parts of present-day Canada. So that was the original name of Hudson's Bay Company, if you missed the first little bit of the show here. Hudson's Bay Trading Company was originally called the Governor and Company of Adventurers of England, trading into Hudson Bay. Doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, if you catch my drift.
I wet my jockeys here.
Anyways, the charter granted the company a monopoly over the region drained by all rivers. Got that part already. The area was named Rupert's Land after Prince Rupert, the first governor of the company appointed by the king. This drainage basin of Hudson Bay spans 3,861,400 square kilometers, or kilometers if you prefer, or 1,490,900 square miles, comprising over 1/3 of the area of modern-day Canada land. It stretches into present-day north-central United States. Yeah, we were there first. Well, actually, no, the indigenous peoples were there first, but we invaded it first. Canada's largest land purchase in the 19th century. Yeah, when Canada bought that, that was a big land grab, man. You know, just like the Louisiana Purchase down in the good old US of A. The HBC established 6 posts between 1668 and 1717. Rupert House, Moose Factory. They named their trading post forts. I mean, they called them forts. They named them houses or factories, but they were forts, really. Fort Albany, Ontario. 3 other posts were established in western shore of Hudson Bay proper. New Severn, York Factory, that was the big one, and Fort Churchill, that was another one. That was a star fort as well. Inland posts were not built until 1774. Yeah, everything was on the shoreline, basically, of James Bay or Hudson Bay. Not until 1774, and after that, excuse me, got a little hoarse there. After that, York Factory became the main post because of its convenient access to vast interior waterway systems of the Saskatchewan River and the Red River. Originally called factories because of the factor, i.e. a person acting as a mercantile agent. Did business from there. These posts operated in the manner of the Dutch fur trading operations in New Netherland, in other words, New York. By adoption of the standard of trade of 18th century, the HBC ensured consistent pricing throughout Rupert's Land. So you had an agent or a factor that operated out of this house or factory or fort. Sounds kind of sus, as the kids would say, but all righty. Vaughn says, what type of soul knocks off a beaver to make a hat? An a-hole, that's who. Yeah. Look at that glorious creature. It's nature's engineer. They build dams to dam up rivers and streams to create lakes, to trap fish. They create these mini ecosystems and these wetlands for ducks and, swans and cranes and all kinds of waterfowl. Even them cobra chickens. The Canada goose, the murder turkeys. No. Let's trap them and kill them and make them into a hat. Very, very strange. Scott Pike says an agent. Yeah, basically they were the manager or the proprietor or the boss, if you will, of these houses or these outposts. And the fur traders would bring their fur in, and these guys would examine the fur, trade or grade the fur, and then according to the prices that every house would pay. They would pay them probably in company credits or trade for stuff. Yeah, give me some of them steel traps. Give me that copper kettle. Give me some of them wool blankets. Whatever, right? That's an excellent question. Water the tree in the box asking what's wrong with wool. Yeah, I know, right? So during the following winter, First Nations men and European fur trappers accomplished the vast majority of the animal trapping and pelt preparation. They traveled by canoe, on foot to the forts to sell their pelts. In exchange, they typically received popular trade goods such as, oh, there we go, knives, kettles, beads. Will it work for some crappy-ass beads? They gave the beads to the Indians, of course. Needles and the Hudson's Bay point blanket. Yes, the famous Hudson Bay wool blanket. We'll take your fur from you and we'll give you wool. So there's the answer. They didn't want the wool. They wanted the fur. Trappers wanted the wool. And, well, trappers used fur as well to stay warm. The arrival of First Nations trappers was one of the high points of the year, met with pomp and circumstance. Both pomp and circumstance. Huh. The highlight was very formal. An almost ritualized trading ceremony between the chief trader and the captain of the indigenous contingent who trapped on their behalf. During the initial years of the fur trade, prices for items varied from post to post. So it might be worth you traveling an extra day to get a better price. You know what I'm saying? Over on the Bumble, BMW chick. Hey, Frankie. Howdy, howdy. Welcome. Hippie Shake. Playing around over on the Rumble as well. Good to see you. Thanks a lot for your support. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. So the early coastal factory model of the English contrasted with the system of the French, who established an extensive system of inland posts at native villages and sent traders to live amongst the tribes in the region, learning their languages almost and often forming alliances through marriages with indigenous women. That's where your Métis come in. In March of 1686, the French sent a raiding party under the Chevalier de Troyes. Chevalier is cavalry, so this Pierre de Troyes, more than 1,300 kilometers or over 800 miles to capture the HBC post along the James Bay. The French appointed Pierre Le Moyne d'Iberville, who had shown great heroism during the raids, as the commander of the company's captured posts. 1687, the English attempt to resettle Fort Albany failed due to strategic deceptions by this guy. After 1688, England and France were officially at war, and the conflict played out in North America as well. Fur trading companies battling one another. And don't forget, earlier on in this article, it says that they were the de facto government in the area for 200 years. So they would rile everybody up, form militias, and people just, these opposing fur trading companies would have these, what they called skirmishes or battles, but they were all out wars with one another. They would get the support of local indigenous tribes or nations, and depending who those indigenous people sided with, they could bolster their armies, basically. It was crazy. There's that picture of York Factory. Very, very obviously a star fort. It's supposedly built right on the water, you say. Right on where this river goes, you say. The Hudson Bay and the Teresa River, which is now called I can't remember what they said it was called now, but anyways. Star fort right along the water, you say. Yeah, no shit. No shit. Ubukan in the box, pelting each other over pelts. Exactly. I could have put it better myself. Very good. Yeah, I like that. With the ending of the 9 Years' War, yeah, one of their skirmishes, so-called, lasted 9 years. So a little bit more than just a tussle between two rival companies. Anyways, and the War of the Spanish Succession in 1733, with signing the Treaty of Ulricht, France had made substantial concessions. Among the treaty's many provisions, it required France to relinquish all claims to Great Britain on the Hudson Bay, which again became a British possession. After the treaty, HBC built Prince of Wales Fort. Oh, do you look at that? Yeah, sure, they built that. A fur trading company built this, people. That's right. See, in Canada, we don't have this goofy narrative of they built the star forts because of the Civil War, because we didn't really have a Civil War per se. We had some quote unquote Indian wars and so on and so forth, but we didn't have an all out Civil War, supposedly. So they can't explain away these star forts up here by saying, oh, they were built for the Civil War. You know, the Union Army built it or the Confederacy built it. No, they can't do that. So they got to say, oh, dang, what are we going to come up with? We got to come up with something right quick there, eh, buddy? I know the fur trading companies built these massive star forts. Big, massive stone structures, massive megalithic stone structures out in the wild wilderness of northern Canada, where it's winter for 7 or 8 months out of the year. The Hudson, it gets cold enough up there that the Hudson's Bay freezes solid. So they got to explain it away somehow. The fur traders built it. Aren't they out busy chasing mink and Arctic fox and beaver? Well, yeah, but when they come back to this area, they have to have a trading post. So they built a fort because they were afraid that the rival fur traders would invade their territory. You see how this whole thing is absolutely cockamamie?
I think I can smell shite. Yes, I can definitely smell shite.
So, yeah, exactly. That's exactly right, Vaughn. It's in Churchill. The Churchill River. Yes, thank you. And they even say it's a stone star fort. The Prince of Wales Fort. The only other thing that they can do to explain away star forts in Canada land is they say there wasn't the fur trading company that built it. Like really far west where the fur trading companies really didn't go, or in the bald ass prairies where there isn't much in the way of what to trap, then they would say, oh, the Northwest Mounted Police, they built those forts. So it's either the Mounties built them or the fur traders built. So there you go. In 1782, during the American Revolutionary War, a French squadron under Jean-François du Gallup captured and demolished York Factory and Prince of Wales Fort in support of the American rebels. Yeah, this one guy just went up and demolished a couple of star forts. Sure. In its trade with indigenous peoples, Hudson's Bay Company exchanged wool blankets, called Hudson Bay Point blankets, for the beaver pelts trapped by indigenous hunters. By 1700, point blankets accounted for more than 60% of the trade. The number of indigo stripes, aka points, woven into the blanket identified its finished size. A long-held misconception is the number of stripes was related to the value of the beaver pelts. Okay, there you go. So these bay blankets apparently were the big thing. These things. A wool blanket with different stripes on it, which are on the flag of the HBC as well. Chassis Nicks in the box. Those were some talented fur traders. Yeah. Well, they're engineers and master builders and pretty good at, chasing beavers, I guess. Water the tree. Sounds fishy. Yep. Yeah. Phil Henry's giggling his ass off here in the box. It's ridiculous, right? Yeah, I agree. Hippie Shakes says a lot of these stories don't make sense. No, not really. Fur trading companies building massive masonry star forts up in the Canadian frontier. Conversely, a number of inland HBC houses predated the construction of Cumberland House in 1774. Yeah, because they built a lot of inland houses. Parallels may be drawn between, I skipped ahead here, between HBC's control over Rupert's Land with the trade monopoly and government functions, enjoyed by the East India Company over India during roughly the same period. Yeah, well, the stories mirror one another. Funny that, isn't it? Anyways, there we go. The first inland trading post was established by Samuel Hearn with Cumberland House, Saskatchewan. Say it with me now. Saskatchewan. Conversely, a number of inland HBC houses predated the construction of Cumberland House, 1774. Henley House, established 1740. Albany and the Kenogami rivers. So yeah, then it goes into a whole bunch of stuff. Then you get into the 19th century history. The Northwest Company, another fur trading company, was the main rival in the fur trade. The competition led to the Small Pemmican War in 1816, which culminated in the Battle of Seven Oaks on June 19th, 1816. In 1821, the Northwest Company and Hudson's Bay Company were forcibly merged by intervention of the British government to put an end to the violent competition. They were forced to wear one of those get-along shirts that parents put their kids in, where a shirt's big enough for two kids, but you pull it over both. And they got to share the get-along shirt. Either that or you're both going to stand in the corner and hold hands for 5 minutes. Their headquarters at Fort George. Oh, another fort. You don't say. Was relocated to Fort Vancouver. Oh, another fort. You don't say. So once their competition was quelled, they expanded further and further, basically up to the Rocky Mountains. Then John Jacob Astor got in on the business, but he came at it in from the Oregon territories, trying to dip his toe in the fur trade. But yeah, there you go. Rest of that, if you want to follow up, link in the description box below for the cockamamie Hudson's Bay Company story. I don't know, man. It's just it's a little wacky. So they went from a fur trading company to basically a mercantile with outposts, and then they started building proper stores, wood framed, 2-story, 5 and dime type stores. You can still go in there and buy your sacks of flour, but you can also buy fine china and housewares and home furnishings and clothing. And, it was basically Canada's first department store. But the fur trading outposts were like that too. You bring in enough beaver pelts or fox pelts or whatever you got. Once they grade them and quote you a price, then you could trade it for goods at the trading post. And at one point, some of these trading posts got so large that they also had furniture and clothing. And, it wasn't just pots and pans and knives and beads. Or, give me that there hatchet. Or give me a blanket. Right? It got to be, quite the operation. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Water the tree in the boxes. Yeah, the star forts weren't good enough. Yeah, so then they had to start building crappy 2-story wooden buildings and, the little towns that were starting to spring up. And some of the existing towns and cities that were already in, Upper and Lower Canada, right? Upper Canada was Ontario, where the seat of government is and was, in Ottawa. Lower Canada was Quebec, in terms of the St. Lawrence, because it flows from the Great Lakes into the ocean, right? So the upper portion of the St. Lawrence River or the St. Lawrence Seaway is Ontario, and the lower portion is Quebec. Let's quickly look at the Hudson's Bay in terms of their stores, because as mentioned, they went from a fur trading company with outposts to mercantiles to full-on stores. And in the second half of the show, after we take a mid-show break here coming up quickly, we're going to have a look at some old photomographs, and you're going to see some of these buildings that they call department stores are mind-blowing. Some of them look like castles. Some of them look like, the Buckingham Palace. And you're like, what is going on here? That's where people go to buy socks and underwear and maybe a new sofa. It's ridiculous. But let's quickly just look at the department store aspect of the company instead of just the general company itself. So Hudson Bay, also known as the Bay, is a Canadian department store chain. It was one of the oldest, largest continuously operating companies in the world, founded May 2nd, 1670. Operated its first department store in 1881 in Winnipeg, Manitoba. The glorious old world central city of Canada land. Geographically pretty much smack dab from east to west in the middle of Canada land. I think at one time, I've said this before, and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. Winnipeg was one of those old world white cities or golden glorious cities, like San Francisco or Chicago, and they just destroyed it. But anyway, the chain operated under the company name until 1965 when the stores were rebranded as The Bay. Operating primarily in Western Canada at first, the chain eventually achieved nationwide presence in the second half of the 20th century by opening new locations, as well as successively acquiring and converting the department stores Morgan's, Freeman's, Simpson's, and Woodward's. In 2013, the chain rebranded as Hudson's Bay. So they started in Manitoba, and they moved kind of westward at first, and then they expanded into Ontario and Quebec by opening new stores and buying out the competition. Of course, that old story. By 2021, Hudson's Bay operated 86 locations in 7 Canadian provinces. Its full-line department stores focused on high-end fashion apparel, accessories, and home goods. Flagship stores carried a bigger range and selection of goods than typical locations. The flagship stores were often multi-story, historic buildings and were in Canada's largest cities: Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, Calgary, and Ottawa. The largest of the flagship stores was the Toronto store on Queen Street. Got photos of all these, by the way. At about 79,000 square meters or 850,000 square feet. Amid the financial impact of the COOF and other factors, including the ongoing retail apocalypse, Sears had to shut her down up here. Target shut her down up here. Anyway, the chain had closed multiple flagship locations since 2020, including locations in Edmonton, Toronto, and Winnipeg. In March 2025, the Hudson's Bay Company filed for creditor protection under the Companies Creditors Arrangement Act, and following a judicial hearing, HBC began liquidating most Hudson's Bay stores with initial plans to keep 6 stores open in Quebec and Ontario. Strange, considering they started in the West. Population density in Quebec and Ontario, I guess, would be the explanation. Larger market. Anyway, in April 2025, it was later announced that the 6 remaining stores would also be liquidated. As of June 3rd, 2025, the court officially approved the purchase of all the chain's intellectual property that was bought by Canadian Tire, another big department store that started off as, well, as the name would suggest, tire and auto parts stores. And 28 store leases were acquired by Ruby Liu Commercial Investment Corp. The company's stores officially ceased operations June 1st, 2025. Ruby Liu Commercial, that's some foreign Chinese real estate speculation and real estate investment speculator company. Those dirty, rotten bastards. They drive up the prices of everything. Falsely inflate property and land values and property taxes, and vacancy rates go down and occupancy rates go up. But there's nobody living in the damn place, but it's rented, so you can't rent it, even though you could barely afford to rent it. That's what those damn Chinese some bitch companies love to do. That's right. I said it. Anyway, settle down here. Settle down now, people. The diversification of the Hudson's Bay Company became necessary with the decline of fur trade in the latter half of the 19th century. And the deed of surrender in which the ownership of Northwestern Territory to Rupert's Land was transferred from HBC to the newly established country of Canada in 1870. Yeah, so they lost all that, the monopoly. That was the beginning of the end, according to the narrative. When they lost the monopoly in 1870, it was all downhill from there, even though we're in 2025 now. So I guess it took a while. So basically, they have these old world buildings in the downtown cores or in the historic districts of large cities in Canada land. And then, as cities became more built out, and you get the subdivisions and suburbs, they would open smaller stores and shopping centers and shopping malls, and often would be the anchor for a mall. But they also had a catalog, the Bay catalog, that you would get in the mail from Canada Post, and you could order from the Bay catalog, much like Sears and others, and have whatever you ordered from the Bay delivered. I think it was delivered. Was it delivered by the Bay? I'm sure at one point it was delivered by the Bay. Then after that, they probably just subcontracted it out to Canada Post, and then probably later just to whomever, right? Whatever courier company. Phil Henry says, kind of sad. I mean, it is. I mean, obviously, in the early part of the company, and that's not to say anything against, the average employee that lost their job when the company went belly up here. I mean, that's very sad. But in the past, the company obviously had some very shady dealings, and they took advantage of the indigenous peoples, and they grabbed land, and they did a bunch of illegal stuff because they made the laws anyways. They went to wars with other companies instead of having the free market decide things. It was terrible. But all of that aside, I mean, once you get into quote unquote, modern times, once you get into the 19th century, and they're basically just operating department stores at this point, one could argue it's a Canadian institution. And I mean, if you can bail out Canadian airline companies from going out of business, then why should you not be able to at least bail out a company that basically is known to have founded Canada? If it wasn't for the Hudson's Bay Trading Company, then perhaps Canada would not be what we're showing on maps of, what Canada is right now. It would be much smaller. Part of it would still be owned by France. Part of it would be owned by the US. Part of it by Russia. Who knows, man? Who knows? So, one could argue that, I mean, there should have been, somebody should have stepped in and said, look, the government could throw some money at this or something with, a bunch of stipulations. Keep those 6 stores open, or keep your glorious old world building stores in each big city open, right? Vancouver, Victoria, Calgary, Edmonton, Regina, Winnipeg, Toronto, Montreal. Keep, 8 or 10 open. Scale stuff down, lease some of your interior spaces out to other companies, like have a Starbucks lease a spot in the Bay, have a McDonald's or whatever, I mean, it doesn't have to be crappy stuff like that. It can be different stuff, but you get what I'm saying. So, I mean, it is kind of sad. It's a bit of a shame. But one could also argue that karma always comes around, and you did some shady stuff in the past, and well, now it's come back around to bite you in the hiney. You know what I'm saying? But Babylon Fox in the box. Hello. Hi, I was watching while on the phone. Hashtag multitasker. There you go. Well, welcome. Good to see you. Thanks for shooting in. So yeah, there it is. Hudson's Bay Company, basically department store chains, and then they eventually were in malls, and they did have a mail order catalog as well. So links below for well, that's not in the link below right now, but I'll share it after the live. It'll be up for the re-up. It'll be up for the up. I don't know what I'm talking about. I think this is a good time to take a mid-show break. Give you a sneak peek at your upcoming midweek. As a reminder, or if you're new to the channel, every Wednesday, vintage footage. A guy likes to find old-timey footage. The older, the better. I try to put a Canadian spin on it somehow, by editing it with some music or what have you. Every Wednesday, you get that on the channel, and I'd like to give you a sneak peek of that here on the Sunday live show. So without further ado, let's see what we got coming up here for this one there, eh, buddy? I'm experiencing technical difficulties. This is what I'm doing right now. Bear with me here. Sorry. It's amateur hour here on the show. Here, let me share a video here with you whilst I'm looking for what I'm looking for. How about that? Yeah, this one's entitled Red Brick is Strong. That guy was bound and determined to. I don't know if it looked like he was destroying one of those fancy dancy doorbell cameras, didn't it? I don't know. I'm not really sure what smashing the hell out of that with a brick is going to do, because a red brick is pretty strong, but the brick was fine. But it didn't look like it was just putting a dent in whatever he was bashing it against. Vaughn says, honey, get the boom stick. Yeah. What the F was that? Kathy Broughton. Yeah, that's right. In the parking lot there in the background, the car just drives away. Don't want any part of this. Don't want any part of this whatsoever. Anyways, I got my poop in a group now. Thanks for bearing with me here. I was having trouble locating that file for some reason. Anyway, sneak peek, your upcoming midweek vintage footage coming Wednesday, as per every Wednesday. This is 1920s Big Apple. It's just over 2 minutes long, so short but sweet. 1920s New York. And even though it's short but sweet, it's a good one. So smoke them if you got them. Put on your ear goggles and turn her up to 11 there, eh, buddy? And I'll see you on the other side of 2 minutes and 20 seconds. All right? Cheers.
But the postman came, and the postman went, and he brought the mail that my baby sent. No, she didn't say yes. Yes, she didn't say no. But from what I read, man, it's time to go. I'm gonna put this stamp in the middle of my back. Gotta take a ride in that mailman's sack. I'll be wearing a tag in the mailman's bag. Once I'm in the sack, ain't no turning back. Yeah! Said, just be kind to me and pass around my hat. I'll be broken beat, living on the street, but I won't stay put. I gotta make it by foot. Yeah, that do read day, shot that do read day. I'm riding in that mailman's bag.
All right, we are back. Welcome back, everyone. Howdy, Frankie here, New West Reset. New West Reset Live, episode 121 here today. Looking at the last Old World Corporation, the Hudson's Bay Company. It's gone belly up, people. First half of the show, we looked into the history of the company and its later on its chain of department stores. So links below for that. Links for everything else below as well. You know, how you can get a hold of a guy and so on and so forth. So thanks for joining me here. Thanks for winding down your weekend with yours truly on the Sunday Fun Day. Woo! If you haven't already, do all the things. Helps a guy out. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. So what'd you think of that video, by the way? I know I was, hey, Frankie, you said you keep it Canadian and then you show New York City. What's the matter with you, huh?
Eh? What are you doing over here? Eh? You show New York, but you're up in Canada there. What's going on? Eh? That doesn't make any sense to me. So, Tommy, where have you been, huh? I've been watching New West Reset. Huh? Well, it's New West Reset. It's this thing on YouTube. He goes around, he does his boots on the ground thing. They'll tell you.
Well, the singer, Colin James, blues guitarist and singer extraordinaire from Canada. Yeah, we got a couple of good bluesmen from Canada. So there you go. Kathy Broughton says, cool video. Thank you very much. Water the Tree. Awesome footage. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I love the old-timey stuff, Snappy Tune, says Ubu Khan. Yes. Colin James, very snappy. And on Wednesday, when those are uploaded, I always, if it's a song that's got lyrics, I'll link the lyrics below as well. Because sometimes it's garbled. Sometimes it's really old-timey music. And you're like, what is this fool saying? I don't understand a word coming out of this fool's mouth. Anyway, welcome back. Thanks for joining me. Really appreciate that. Sunday, June the 8th, 2025. Just a wee bit past 6 p.m. now, local time, mountain time. Coming at you from Calgary, Alberta, southern Alberta, up in Canada land there, buddy. Purdy, Alberta. You know, the land of moose, maple syrup, and beaver pelt hats, and star forts built by fur traders. Yeah, that's right. I mean, we had a look at the star fort anyways on the Wikipedia page. It's right there. They even call it a star fort, and they expect us to buy the fact that it was built by a fur trading company, like a couple hundred years ago. I know it looks like it's thousands of years old, built with giant megalithic stones and whatnot out there in the Canadian tundra, in the frozen wilderness.
Oh, shit!
Anyway, thanks for joining me. Let's have a look at some photographs. Huh? What do you say? You know, funnily enough, look at my folder here with a bunch of photos, but I didn't include any photos of the star forts. I mean, hey, come on. They give us 2 examples right in the Wikipedia article itself, so very easy to find. Got about 3 dozen photos here, and what I did was I've started off with the outposts, the fur trading outposts. I've got a few photos of those, and then photos of the wooden stores, and then we go into the magnificent stuff. You're like, wait, what? That's a department store? Looks like a palace to me. What's going on over here? Anyways, let's see what we got here. You know, so I'm starting off with, whoops. That's wrong. That is wrong. Sorry. See, I told you, it's amateur hour. Amateur hour around here. Let's get it right now. Sorry about that. Clicked on the wrong thing. There we go. So yeah, starting off with this sort of thing, right? These fur trading wooden shacks, basically, or wooden buildings. They look like a house, maybe. And of course, they got to always have incorporated to 2nd of May, 1670. They got it's on every store building. Bunch of braggarts. So here's my local Hudson's Bay store, the very first Hudson's Bay trading outpost. The guy who was the boss of the joint was himself a fur trapper. So yeah, there you go. So that eventually became a land holdings and department store chain empire. From beaver pelts and log cabins. Water to the tree says looks cold and Canadian.
I wet my jockeys here.
It's a little redundant, isn't it? Cold and Canadian. Now, eventually, they built the fort around it. So this is actually the Northwest Mounted Police. Sorry, they didn't build the fort around it. They built it next to it. But this is not a fur trading fort. This is a Northwest Mounted Police fort. So cops only know how to build wooden forts. Fur traders know how to build stone forts, you see. That's how that goes, I guess. So they have it labeled as the Old Hudson Bay Trading Post, but that's not 100% accurate. This is actually the Mounties fort that they built, but it was one of the reasons was to protect the fur trade. I imagine that eventually they did open. In fact, I know for sure at one point, the log cabin, eventually they switched it to a store, but the store was in the fort. Which is weird because it was a Mountie fort, but there was a Hudson's Bay Company trading outpost in the fort. So I'm not sure how that works. You see what I'm getting at here? You see how goofy the whole story is? Now we're starting to get into like a full-fledged store here. A mercantile. Not sure what's going on with this glorious old thing in the background here, but okay. And this is what you'd almost expect to see in the Canadian frontier. You know, built in 1891 or 1886 or something like that. Okay. And in a lot of cases, it didn't matter how small the town was. You would have a Hudson's Bay mercantile. Like this is the Hudson's Bay Company outpost store in Le Goff, Alberta. Now, I live in Alberta. I sure as Sam Steele have never heard of Le Goff. I have no idea where that is. But looky here, they had a gas pump and a Hudson's Bay store. You got your Mountie standing there too, of course. Okay. You know it's Canadian then, for sure, because you got your Mountie there. Dudley Do-Right. Wiley Metz in the box. How you doing? Good to see you, Wiley. Howdy, howdy. All right, now you're talking. Hudson's Bay store, wholesale and retail. Bunch of ne'er-do-wells hanging out front. Ain't you got some furs to trap so you can bring them in here and trade it for a bucket? Oh, nice dog. Hey, buddy, can I pet that dog? Please, mister. Can I pet your dog? These are just kind of all over the place, by the way, these stores and outpost photos. They could be Saskatchewan, Alberta, British Columbia, Ontario, Quebec. Pioneer freighters. That's what these guys were called, freighters. And that's their freight. Bundles of fur. This is South Fort George. So wherever there was a fort, there was a Hudson Bay Company store, and wherever there's a Hudson Bay Company store, there was a fort. And as we've seen, the Mounties. There's that sign again. Keep your peepers peeled for that sign. 9 times out of 10, that sign is there. This is somewhere up north. This is probably northern Manitoba, northern Quebec, because you got indigenous peoples here looking very Eskimo-ish to me, you know, Inuit peoples. Just saying. Well, this is my favorite of the outpost and trading post mercantile photos. This is the one in Edmonton. Edmonton, Alberta, the capital of this beautiful province of Alberta. I'm down in Calgary, and this is up in Edmonton. So you got your fur trading outpost here with your shack and your crappy wooden fence and your horse and your buggy. And you think, well, yeah, it's the Canadian Wild West. It's the frontier. It's like Montana or Oklahoma or North Dakota out there. It's the Wild West, y'all. It's like Cheyenne. But what in the Sam Steele you got back here? Oh, that's just our provincial capital building. It's fine. So the juxtaposition between these two is hilarious to me. Absolutely hilarious. Yeah, Hippie nails it right there. Hippie Shake. And the box says, wow, look at that dome in the background. Looks like St. Paul's Cathedral. Yeah. Old Hudson Bay Post and Parliament buildings, abbreviation for buildings, I'm thinking, and Parliament buildings. Edmonton, Alberta. Edmonton Alta, A-L-T-A, Alberta. So you can trade your furs for a bucket or a blanket, and then you can go up here and you can sit in on the members of parliament as they jockey around and try to pass different laws and legislative decrees and whatnot, I guess. I don't know. Remember to scrape the poop off your boots now. The thing about a lot of these Bay stores is that it was the only place in town that was the mercantile. Of course, they probably ran everybody else out of business, right? If there was a mom and pop and Hudson's Bay came into town and set up shop, the mom and pop's probably shutting her down right quick. And this is after their monopoly. They didn't start opening stores until after the monopoly was in the rearview mirror. They're like, we better diversify here, boys. And you start getting into some of this stuff. Hudson Bay stores, huh? Starting to take over some old world buildings now, are you, boys? Now that you've extended your tentacles, what? Sam Steele's going on here. I'm just going to stand in this hole while you take my picture. All right, Cletus, we're ready to take your picture now. Wait for me to get into this here hole first. All right, now you can take my picture. Can you tell me what's going on here, people? Looks like there could be openings down in here by the looks of it. Because we know that these are windows that let light down into the lower level. So we automatically assume that a building that's at least 2 stories like this is going to have a lower level. It's going to have a foundation. It's going to have to be, robust. It's a brick building. So yeah, this is very odd. Yep, we just found this here building 3 months ago. So we slapped Hudson's Bay on it, moved a bunch of our crap in there, and now we're trading furs with the Indians. Just crazy. Eric, Lost and Found History Rewritten, says, I'm going to Manitou Lake in Colorado Springs. Ooh, nice. Backpacking trip in the beginning of July. If I don't come back by the 3rd week, call search and rescue. Don't jinx yourself now. Yikes. But yeah, that sounds, actually, all kidding aside, that sounds great. That sounds really nice. Yeah, have a good trip. Sounds fantastic. I got some vacation time coming up in July as well. So see what I'm going to be doing about that. Yeah, that sounds like a good time there, bud. Yeah, get in that hole, Cletus. We'll take your picture and then we can move on to the next one. Again, big, huge buildings. And this is the tech that built them. Let's see the incorporated 1670 sign on this one, though. After me shooting off at the mouth, about 9 times out of 10, they got that sign there. This one looks like a wooden one, but they got arched windows. This is an Edmonton store. Yeah, this is the Edmonton store, not the outpost. This is version number 2, where they said, okay, we'll build us a proper store instead of a trading outpost. This, I believe, is in somewhere in Saskatchewan. Look at this. Come on, man. Look at this fancy. We'll stack the brick like crazy, but we'll do it in little miniature arches all the way along the top. Then we'll do a curved corner on it. Entrance on the corner. Put a nice pediment on there. Just so you can go in there and buy a blanket and a bucket and some socks and underwear. This is, again, one of those little towns, but a significant store, 1897 there, as you can see. It's painted on there as plain as day. This is in a town called Fort Capel in Saskatchewan. Wasn't a big town then. It still ain't a big town now. Again, just stacking the brick. I mean, don't get me wrong. Looks beautiful, but it's a lot of bother from, I guess they really wanted to put their best foot forward after, okay, we're done with these log cabin fur trade outposts now. Now it's time to get serious now. It's time for brick and mortar and stone and steel. This weird nabob coffee and tea sign on the outside of this base store. I'm sorry, I can't remember where this is. I think this is Saskatchewan. I'm not sure if it's Regina or if it's in Saskatoon. Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. You can see it's all sloped though. So this window's, 1.5 feet off the ground here, and here it's like 3 feet. It's weird. This is the Edmonton's second store. So they went from that little store to this. Well, they went from a wooden trading outpost to a wooden store to this. Mansard roof on it. All these fancy pediments above each dormer window. Then you've got the sawtooth or the dental molding all along here. Arch windows with stacked brick arches over them. Yeah, the awning looks crappy, but you can see the big, huge windows, big, huge, tall doors. There's a lady, there's a man, and there's these massive windows. 1, 2, 3, 4 stories. So they went from this to that. This is Montreal. I mean, just all of this detail with this roughly hewn stone inlaid amongst this smooth stuff. And then they've got this, what do they call it, scalloped or fluted? I can't remember. Column here with this capital on it. Get the dental molding under here. Some kind of doohickeys going on. Big arches with these little pillars holding it up. Giving the impression of being very sturdy. Heavy stone. This building is still there, so you can go and, knock on it, kick it, whatever. Throw a rock at it. No, don't do that, but you know what I'm saying. To test to see if it's actual stone. But I mean, it's, even if it's facading stone, it's big, large chunks of real stone. Look at all this. Just going to triple stack that dental molding there, bud. Oh, for sure, eh? No problem. Get her done, buddy. This is Yorkton, Saskatchewan. Yorkton, again, it's a city, but it's not a big city. Look at this beaut. It's only 2 floors, but come on, man. Are you kidding me?
That doesn't make sense.
Yorkton's got like, maybe at this point, 20, 30,000 people. This is splendid. Splendid. You got these transom windows above. They're big shop windows. Then again, these are windows under here that let light down below. Then you've got these columns with these beautiful capitals on here. And then another section with all of these angles. Not sure what these are. Sorry, it gets very pixelated if I zoom too much. Looks like there is some kind of cartouche or something here and here. So maybe every second one, like blank, cartouche, blank, blank, cartouche, blank. I don't know. Speculating. Oh, no, here we go. Anyway, beautiful, beautiful old world building. Looking maybe a little stout, a little top heavy. Looks like it could be another couple of floors. And it would look a little bit more proportioned. Can I say that? Proportioned. Again, that's just me looking at it, giving my opinion. All this up here, man. Get out of here. Get out of here. Saskatchewan. Wheat farmers. Wheat, corn, cattle. Saskatchewan, Alberta, and Manitoba, you know, the prairie provinces. It's Canada's breadbasket. But wheat farmers got to buy their blankets and buckets and socks and underwear too, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Eric says, I'm a wilderness survival expert, so shouldn't be any problems. I'm taking my 9-year-old son and my girlfriend. My son has been with me before, but my girlfriend hasn't ever been. Ah. Wiley says, bring the big knife, Eric. Kathy asking, Eric, does your girlfriend like the outdoors? Chassis says, as a wilderness expert, I can only date men who are also. I tried to date men who don't like it, and it didn't work out. Yeah, I'm very outdoorsy. Hiking, cycling, camping, hunting, fishing. I like roughing it when I camp. You know, just whatever I carry on my back, right? Hence, I don't go camping for 2 weeks straight, obviously. It's not going to happen. I mean, I could if my food was MREs and whatnot, and I really loaded my pack and really downsized. But, I mean, come on. There's a point where you still want to have a good time. You know what I'm saying? You still want to have a good time.
You know what I mean? All right, we're having a good time.
But yeah, I totally get it. I've dated ladies in the past that are not fun of that level of camping. They're like, we can rent an RV, and that'd be fine. I'm like, you know what? I'll meet you halfway on that one, babe. Yeah, we can rent an RV. Sure. Why not? If you're willing to meet me halfway, the least I could do is step in that direction. You know what I'm saying? Tell you what, I'm not going to cook our food over the fire. How about that? Angel Dreams in the box. Hi, Frankie and friends. Hello. Good to see you. Thanks for shooting in. So Eric says she does love the outdoors. There we go. Perfect. Vincent with the voice of reason. Cousin Vinny over here. Hey, I can camp. I just choose not to. There you go. Channel 53 says you can learn a lot about someone by camping with them. Yes. Yep. Pastor of Castles in the box. Hello. Agrees wholeheartedly. 53. Hello. Yep. Eric as well. Yeah. I think you got a unanimous decision on that one. We'll back you up on that one, bot. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Is you got to know what you're doing. You got to watch out for ticks, and you got to know your poison oak, poison ivy. You got to know, like, do I smell skunk, or do I smell somebody smoking a little something that smells skunky? You know what I'm saying? So you got to be careful. Oh, back to the Edmonton store, just from a different angle. Duplicate, sorry. I mean, it is a beaut with that mansard roof and just the stacked dental molding. And again, all of the, just row upon row of pediments over these windows. Huge, dramatic, sweeping arches. I mean, it's simple. And I'm sure by the time this photo was taken, it's been dumbed down. I'm sure there was more to it at some point. At this point, they've already slapped awnings on it, and they've got the jalapenos in the streets. So she's been around a while, looking a little aged. Here's the store in Regina. I looked for photos of this and like old photos, and I couldn't really find anything because I wanted to look at this up here. Because I know in the old Calgary Bay store, they had these, but there was actually things on these that they eventually changed to flagpoles that they eventually just took off completely. But this is from a postcard. So this is one of the buildings that I think the Bay took over. So it was a former, Glasgow House was former this company, I believe. If you're a local from Regina, Saskatchewan, let me know in the comments or whatever down there, eh? Here's another look at the Montreal store. So you can see, yeah, this is impressive enough, of course, absolutely. But, I mean, it's just tip of the iceberg, as the saying goes. She keeps going there, bud. That's the look at this, a bijou balcony, because you need that in a department store. You need to be able to open your French doors and step out onto here while you're shopping for a new sofa. And another one down here. Looks like a bloody hotel. Incredible, man. This is Tirana. This is pretty old-timey. This is a pre-jalopy. Of course, they got the trolleys, the trams going already. But no cars yet. A little bit of a sus photo because these folks are look like they've either been painted in or they used paint to highlight and contrast them, create shadow and highlight on them. Either way, I think this horse and wagon have also been maybe, again, dark paint and light highlights added. I have no doubt that these folks are here. Their shadows look right and match up. But some of the stuff they've accented. This guy looks a bit sus, maybe. But anyway, it's the building we're looking at. And this is sort of what you'll notice with the Bay buildings, are these massive palatial, multi-storied stone and brick buildings that have a lot of the same tip-offs or giveaways that, as a Canadian, often you could blindfold me, bop me over the head, kidnap me, and drop me in the middle of Regina next to a Bay store, and I'll look up and I'll be, that's the Bay, without even seeing the Bay sign on it. You could just tell by the building. Now, this is the Winnipeg store, because they decided they wanted to curve this corner as well. Come on, man. Balustrade up top. That's another big one. And again, here, your dental molding and all of this, these capitals here. Winnipeg, again, different angle. I mean, they've even built these extended, like when they were building it, it's got these extended, I don't know, wings, not really wings, but you know what I'm saying, partitions here or what have you. I guess that's so they could have a window down this inside and still let light in from coming from the right of the screen here, coming this way. But you can see generally they're huge behemoth buildings, big, massive old world buildings that look like palaces or hotels. Nope, department store. Really, all of this came out of beaver pelts, eh? All right. So here's what I was talking about with the Calgary store. So you've got this balustrade here, and you've got these raised up areas with a platform, and then you've got all these techie things, looking things on, all the way down. And later on, they removed these and then eventually removed balustrade and these portions here. They just left the corner piece with the flags on them, and that's it. This is roughly 1920s, judging by the cars. So the tram runs right down here, by the way, as well. Electric tram. Here's Vancouver, a beautiful photo. This is the Vancouver store. And you can see, but wait, it's the Calgary store. No, it's the Vancouver store. You get a nicer look. So here they're lights. I guess these could be lights, maybe. It's hard to tell because it's such a crummy photo, and you'll have to excuse me for that, but sometimes from these angles, it's the best you can do. What the hell is that? It's roughly the same time period, 20s. Look at all this fancy. The Calgary store has this too, this and all of this shenanigans. It's incredible. They removed a lot from the Calgary store, but at one time it looked like this. Yeah, the Vancouver store is quite exquisite as well. I bet you this is all gone now, though. See, but their columns here are curved. And then they have the capitals on them. They're not even squared off. So that's extra work. It's all scalloped here. Got your wrought iron awning. This might be lion's heads. They could be rosettes too. I'm guessing the Calgary store, they're rosettes. Big Hudson's Bay Company coat of arms here too. It could be chassis. Chassis Nick saying maybe a lot of the crosses had lights at one time. Yeah, what we see on buildings now that have a cross, maybe it had a light like this. Because you have 3 lights here, right? You never know. You never know. That's certainly what it looks like to me, Water the Tree. Tech on every column. At this point, it's already been maybe converted to, they're lights. They've always been lights. Yeah, but this was built before you had electric going and everything. So were they originally lights? I don't know. This is the Vancouver store prior to this one. I mislabeled them, sorry. So this is their downtown flagship jewel in the crown Vancouver store. This was its predecessor. So you see, they just keep getting more and more grandiose. We start off with log cabins and wooden trading posts. Then we build some wooden 2-story buildings, maybe some brick 2- and 3-story buildings. Then all of a sudden, bam, they go to these big palatial, taking up a half a city block or a quarter of a city block. Look at all this, man. All these arches. But again, it gets kind of pickulated, but you can see all the texture work done here. There it is, Hudson's Bay Company. Getting the street slopes downward here as well. But yeah, even this in itself, although not as grand, is still very beautiful. I mean, all of this work with all this stacked brick and all of this, herringbone or whatever that is, it's incredible. So I think this must be the third one, and then they went to the big palatial one. You see where I'm getting at, though, right? It starts to muddy the waters because it's like, okay, well, you had this, which I think is this, but this is an earlier photo. So did they add this on afterwards, or did they airbrush out that building in behind it? Could be that they did here. I'm not sure. Is this manipulated? It's possible. Because this is the Vancouver Bay. This is the Bay Vancouver. This is the Bay Vancouver. This is the Bay Vancouver. You see where I'm getting at? Here's the one in Victoria. Just as splendid, but you can see it's very stout. Here's the Vancouver one. Look at these giant transom windows, by the way. Huge. And because the street slopes, the windows above here get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it splits into 2 windows. Come on, man. What kind of cockamamie stuff is that? But anyways, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 floors, right? This one's only 4, but just as grand. Although it's, see here, they've dumbed it down. They've taken the tech or the lights off, but it still has this beautiful capital on it here, and these fluted or whatever, these carved pillars. Again, the scalping work done here. So this is on Vancouver Island, Victoria. Another beautiful Canadian city. Yeah. I agree, Kathy. Kathy Brown says that building's been scalped. Yeah. PCS World in the box. Yeah, that's no, they built it right after they took the picture. It only took them a week. Yeah, well, that's, I know you're exaggerating a bit, but they would say, oh, no, but that edition, that took a year, and they would expect us to buy that, and it's just as laughable as a week. It might as well be a week. This is another shot of the store in Victoria. You can see here, this portion of these columns are all scallop texture. Something going on here with the cartouche. There's the size of those windows, massive. See that? It's like little bobules or little nodes. Like we see that on cathedrals a lot. All those little nodes on the spire. So we've got some interior shots. This is Fort Vermilion, Alberta. So this is an interior of a trading post. So you were a trader, whether you were a European fur trader or indigenous First Nations, you'd bring in your whatever you trapped, and you would have to, process it yourself to a certain extent, right? You'd bring it in, and then this guy, he would examine it and the quality and so on and so forth, and give you a grade on it, and then there would be a price per grade. And you could trade it for, whatever, right? You got fabrics, all kinds of doodads, whatever. Sack of flour, a sack of dry beans, whatever, I don't know. So I went from that to this. This is the interior of the Hudson's Bay in Vancouver. This nonsense. There's a mezzanine level up here. That's how high these ceilings are. You kidding me? What are you selling? Wristwatches and earrings. Well, why do you have a 20-foot ceiling if you're selling wristwatches and earrings? You see, they've already, the sprinkler system is an afterthought, so it's just hung there, suspended from the pre-existing ceiling. Looks kind of shitty, but it's your fine china department. Gonna buy yourself a nice tea set, tea service, or maybe you're gonna register with your wedding. There you go. Still gotta have those 20-foot ceilings, though, I guess. I mean, everything. Olive oil, cereals. Canned tomatoes, tin of beans. I don't know what they got here. What kind of olive oil is this? Mazola. Mazola olive oil? Really? Huh. Okay. Didn't realize that. I mean, some Bay locations had restaurants, dining rooms, and sold, groceries, dried goods, and so on. Food, Could be. Steve Q17 says, I wouldn't be surprised if there's pyramid under one or more of the Great Lakes. And the lakes were designed to hide them. They have found structures, like monolithic stone structures and so on under the Great Lakes. As to whether they were once pyramids, they got, destroyed, whether purposely or by forces of nature or whatever, who knows? But it's the children's wear department. Get yourself a little jumper and some culottes or whatever. I don't know what the hell kids were wearing back then. It's like, make it all kid friendly here by putting a shitty painting of a creepy dog standing there and a black cat. It's not going to scare the children at all. But the kids department's fancy, man. They got these big fixtures with drawers, mirrors everywhere. Again, you got to have them 20-foot ceilings to sell culottes. Now we're talking. Now that's Canada. Put some moose head on the wall, fur everywhere. Sorry if any of you get offended by the fur. I mean, this is, it is what it is, and it was what it was for the history of Canada and the Hudson's Bay. So I hope you brought your butt hurt cream. Gonna see a lot of critters, pelts everywhere. So this, just a dining room in the department store. Yeah, no, it's fine. Nothing to see here. Looks like a dining room in a freaking hotel. Yeah, no, we're just going to do some shopping. Got to buy some socks, underwear, a bucket, and a blanket. Then I'll grab some lunch. You kidding me? All this carved wood with all these little carved wood rosettes. Wall sconces and stuff. Come on, man. In a department store. Sure. Yeah, okay. It's nice. Piano there and everything, man. I'd get soup and sandwich of the day in that place. A little famished after shopping. Turtle in the box says, I had a bear rug in my room as a child. Yeah, there you go. Not much warmer than a bear skin, I tell you that. Except for maybe bison or buffalo. This is a different dining hall. See, they gave them all names. This is the Elizabethan dining hall on the 6th floor of the Calgary Bay. They eventually shut all this down. We can't have all this glory here while people are enjoying a nice meal for their excursion into town for the day to go shopping in this old world glorious building that we've converted into a department store. No, we can't have anything nice. So they took all this out and they just added more junk to sell on this floor. But I mean, come on, man. Chandeliers in the ceiling, all kinds of stuff here on the wall. What's this armor, chest armor, and a helmet? Got some boom sticks over here or something. I don't know. But then you've got these big medallions in the ceiling and all of this trim work. Look at that. Fruit motif, no doubt. Seeing as that it's a dining room after all. Again, with the wall sconces, some more fighting armor or something. I don't know what that is. That almost looks adult content. Sorry, folks. Obviously not. I'm joking, but there's King Edward here. I just noticed suits of armor is just standing here in the dining hall. Sure, okay. Why not have suits of armor in your department store dining lounge? Not to mention the rug or the carpet. Look at this. It's the Bay's coat of arms on their carpet. Take off. Really? That is fancy as F. This is in 1952. Look at this. This is just the coat check, I think. Or maybe the smoking lounge. And this would be, I don't know, the reception desk or something. I don't know. I thought it was a coat check, but there's a chair here. This might say exit, though. It's probably just a lobby on the outside of this dining room. I mean, look at this, man. It's a fresco on the wall. And a pediment over this mirrored area here. Again, I'll remind you, this is a Canadian department store. This is not a hotel. Now this, sure, I get it. Now we're going back into, this is the more of a mercantile style interior. Hudson's Bay store. A little bit of a smaller town. So scaled down, but yeah. This is what I would expect to see in Saskatchewan, right? Not some big, massive, palatial looking building that takes up a quarter of a city block. Dragon Sage in the box. Howdy. Good to see you. Yeah, right? The dining room it's not a 5-star, it's a 6-star. It's got everything. Wood paneling, carved wood, suits of armor, chandeliers, medallions and trim work on the ceilings. Just luxury galore. The custom carpeting, frescoes on the walls. Come on, man. A long way from something like this. Or a log cabin. You know. We got here? Apples? Sure. Beautiful. What do we able to see here? Some kind of nut. Some kind of nut, it looks like. Let's see what else we can see. It's over here. Booze. Booze. Got some pickled eggs here, everybody. All kinds of, I don't know what these are. different tonics. This guy looks like a soda jerk. Some kind of tonics and sodas. Get yourself a malted and get half in the can. Get sauced. Then you start shopping for stuff. Crown, I don't know what that is. Tomatoes. There's that all tins of olive oil. This is looks like the meat counter, maybe. Got a slicer here. Look at this slicer. They got meat on the slicer. You want some prosciutto? It's good to go, buddy. Eh? There you go. There's some beautiful prosciutto for you, huh? That's more like, hey, buddy, you want some back bacon there, eh? I'll slice you off a nice hunk of that. Let me just sneak by you there, bud. I'll get in here and I'll slice her up nice for you, bud. Some back bacon. So there you go. I think that's the end of that file. Yep, that is it. That is it. So the Hudson's Bay department stores, formerly Hudson's Bay Fur Trading Company, formerly the what was it called again? That cockamamie long-winded name. I'm glad they got rid of it because obviously it's hard to remember. It was the Governor and Company of Adventurers of England trading into Hudson's Bay. Woo! I could have put that on your company golf shirt. But 1670 until, what was it, June the 1st, 2025. And then they had to roll up the shutters, or roll down the shutters and close up shop. Liquidated. A Canadian institution. Again, a shady past. But that said, come on. I'm on the fence about it. Part of me is very sad with the Bay because, you know, the Bay was one of the places, too, that at Christmas time as a kid, they had the Santa Claus. So you could go and see the Santa Claus. Eaton's had the Santa Claus. Sears had the Santa Claus. The Bay. Usually the Bay or Eaton's, they tended to have the bestest Santa Claus. The most elaborate, magical North Pole with Santa, with the, you know, the whole bit, right? Get your photo taken or whatever. Usually the kids screaming and hollering. But everything from being a whippersnapper and seeing Santa at the Bay, all the way up to, you know, just a few years ago, you know, guy needs some jeans, gonna buy me some Levi's jeans. I'm gonna go to the Bay. Why? Because the Bay downtown is the best selection. Are they about $5 more than another place? Yep. But you know what? I know they'll have my size, and I know they'll have more than one of what I want. So I'll take 2 of these and 1 of those bought. So, you know, but yeah, they did do some shady stuff in the past, like have their own army, their own government and their own army. And they just ruled Rupert's Land, basically a third of what's modern day Canada, ruled it with an iron fist. And if you oppose them, they'd go to war with you. Yeesh. It's kind of rough. Fur traders building star forts because they're at war. Take it easy. I mean, it's just Arctic fox and beaver, man. Like, slow it down there, bud. You're at a 9 there, eh? You should bring her down to about a 3 there, buddy. I make it sound like it's exclusively beaver pelt. It's not, but that was kind of the preferred. Like, they almost hunted the beaver to extinction, for pity's sakes. For some reason, I mean, the beaver's on our nickel, on our Canadian nickel coin. For some reason, it's all about the beaver. But I mean, there was way more than that. There was, you know, again, Arctic fox and rabbits and all kinds of different marmots and weasels and minxes and deer and moose and bear. We got all the kinds of bears up here. We got the black bear, the brown bear, because it's Canada, right? So we got to be super inclusive and be all politically correct. So we got a white bear, brown bear, black bear, and we got grizzly bear, Kodiak bear. And just so you think, well, you ain't got a red bear or a yellow bear. We got a red squirrel. And those baby seal pups, they're yellowish. So we've got all the colors of all the different peoples covered, or something like that. Well, yeah, Kodiak will maul you just as much as look at you. You know what I'm saying? Steve says black bears matter. That's absolutely right. Oh man. That's pretty good. But yeah, there's all kinds of animals for the hunting and the fur trapping up here. So, you know, it's not like the Bay hunted just beaver. And, well, not the Bay, but the fur trappers that brought the stuff in. It wasn't just beaver. But the beaver's what made them top hats. For some reason, it had to be beaver. And the Queen's Guard, the King's Guard at the palace, you know, the guys with the red coats, the red tunics with the black fur hats, that's fur, a Canadian fur too. Just can't remember what it is. Something, I don't know if it's black bear. It might be black bear. So there you go. You know, it's Canada. We're all about the wolves and the bears and the beavers and the maple syrup and the being politically correct and being polite. I don't know. I don't even know what that means. Anyway, getting ready to wind this thing down here. Got a couple of things to share with you. I'd like to share some fun little videos, a few laughs before we got out of here. We looked at the brick is strong. Let's look at that again, man. This guy, I'm thinking he's obviously a criminal. He's grabbed a brick and he's bashing it against something on the side of a building. And it looks to me like it's one of those doorbell cameras. So he's not trying to break in my opinion, because he's just bashing the camera. So it's like, well, I don't want this camera to see my face because I'm fixing to break into here. So I'm going to bust the camera, then bust into the joint. I think that's what's going on. I don't know, but red brick is strong. There's that car driving away, that little blue compact car. I'm not sure what's going on here, but I don't want any part of it. Bye. Bye. Look how dejected he looks there. He looks so like, It's just as it's fading out, he's like, I'm never going to do this. Whatever this cockamamie scheme I'm pulling, it's never going to happen. Ever. All right, let's see what else we got here. I think Kathy sent me something, but I was speaking earlier, before we get to what Kathy sent me. Speaking earlier about the fur trade, you know, and it wasn't just beaver, you know, it's bear and muskrat and otter and you know, moose and wolf. So here's a typical Canadian here. I shot this over my my top balcony here. Oh, you know, just another day in Canada where my neighbor is taking his pet wolf for a walk. Oh yeah, it's fine. So there's that. You know, just, what are you doing, Sam? Oh, just taking my pet wolf for a walk there, eh? Aren't you afraid it's going to eat that other little dog? Oh, no, this little white fluffy dog? Yeah, no, but that dog, she's the boss of these two, eh? He won't, eh? I swear that's a wolf. I ain't playing. I swear that's a wolf. You know, animals enrich your life. You know, animals, you have a pet, or if you go hiking and you spot a deer and you're like, oh, there it is, right? Even fishing, you know. Nature in general, but animals, you know, you've got companion, you got a pet dog, pet bird, a pet cat. I don't know what you got. Maybe you live on a ranch and you got like, you know, 3 dozen head of cattle. You know, you get this connection, right? The animals enrich your life, they enhance your life, but I don't know if you should use them as accessories, right? Like those Paris Hilton type girls that have the tiny dog in their purse, right? In their handbag. That's a little much, isn't it? But with that said, I think this guy, he might be onto something. Everybody got spinners. Everybody got their lights under their car, so it looks like a UFO when they're driving down the freeway. But this guy's got something else.
Yo, I just got my van back from the shop. Just got a new upgrade on this thing, man. Got the fish in the head,
This fool. Oh, man. This fool has got fish in his headlights, man. Quit playing, man. This guy is playing. I gotta roll it back. I gotta see it again. Quit playing, man. This guy has got.
Hey, y'all, I just got my van back from the shop. Just got a new upgrade on this thing, man. Got the fish in the head, woo! Got the fish in the head, hey, y'all, I just got my...
This. I believe this man's a damn fool. This guy, I mean, obviously he's playing. He's clowning, but ooh-wee, he got the fish in the headlights. Ain't nobody got fish in the headlights, man. This guy is like, look, you got spinners? That's fine. You got 22s? Great. Fantastic. Oh, you got the fuel injected with the nitrous kit and all that, huh? Bet you ain't got no fish in the headlights, though, son. Huh? You got the zebra print upholstery, but I bet you ain't got the fish in the headlights. Well, you got to, Fox says, nice looking grill. Well, Stephanie, you got to admire the effort to soup up the General Motors Pontiac. What was that? A Pontiac Grand Am or a Pontiac Cavalier or something? Sunfire. It's a 1994 Pontiac Sunfire. So you know that plastic grill is going to be effed up. You know that. But everybody puts chrome on their grill or gets a custom grill. The grill can wait. The fish in the headlights. That's where it's at. Fish. I do believe that man is a fool. Bless him. That was some funny stuff, man. That is some. I ain't gonna lie. I had trouble breathing the first time I saw that clip. I was laughing so hard, I thought I was going to catch a heart attack. I thought I was going to catch a heart attack.
I took shrooms, and now I just looked in the camera and saw a human.
That gorilla's not doing good. That's Bigfoot. It's Bigfoot, everybody.
Up from the shrooms and realized I've been chasing my own footprint. Thought it was a human's. Then I was like, damn, why is my foot so big?
There it is. You got it here first on the New West Reset channel. Right here on the live show. The Bigfoot confirmed. You could put that to bed. You could put it to bed now. Bigfoot. I've been saying it. Y'all said I was crazy because I've been saying it since day one. That I do think that there's some kind of Sasquatch Bigfoot type thing out there. And there it is.
Fella clinging to a bush. Smells like regret and campfire smoke. If it's yours, maybe invest in sock clips next time. Found this near a muddy trail. It's a help me whistle. Didn't work unless it was for attracting bears. Found these near the waterfall. I feel like a forest rock star now. Can't see a thing through them, but style? 5 moss points. Found this gem near a campsite. No idea what's on it, but if I see myself on your Instagram, we're gonna have a chat. Someone left this bendy mat near a moss rock. Tried to follow the instructions. Almost pulled a hamstring. Hey, Sad. Found this by a tree stump. Smells like what I already smell like. Honestly, pretty relaxing. Might keep this for date nights. 5 flames. 1 boot. Just 1. Found on the trail like Cinderella tried camping. If this was yours, I'm keeping it. Makes a great cup holder. Now this is a treasure. Found it near the trailhead, perfectly clean. Lightweight, stylish, and pokes berries like a dream.
It pokes berries like a dream, everybody. You heard it first, right here, right from Sasquatch's mouth. Dragon Sage says, my town has Sasquatches. Yeah, man, I live in the Canadian Rockies, man. You know there's Squatch here. You know Bigfoot's lurking around here. Absolutely, Vaughn. Mystery over. Babylon Fox says, my student just showed me that today. Yeah, I just got it like, yesterday? Kathy sent it to me a day or 2 ago, I think. Well, it's funny. It's just funny. I don't know. But I told you it was real. I told you. Everybody thought I was crazy. I told you. All right, I think that's it. The shenanigans. I think I'm ready to shut her down. That's going to seal the day. I got to get some dinner in me. Sorry, I'm just trailing off here, distracted. Stomach's making those funny stomach noises where it's going, why aren't you eating something? Yeah. I got it. Not so subtle hint taken. Stomach. Thanks, stomach. All right. So that's going to seal the deal here for Frankie. New West Reset Live, episode 121. The last Old World Corporation, Hudson's Bay Company. Again, as a reminder, links below for everything. How you can get a hold of a fella. Keep your peepers peeled on the channel for upcoming stuff as we move into summer here. Thank you. Thank you very much to everybody for all of your support, all your continued support. And a big thank you and a hearty welcome to all the new friends to the channel. Thanks for jumping aboard. Thanks for shooting in. Hang on. Shenanigans abound. So until the next one, take care out there and have yourselves a good one. All right, everyone? Thanks again. Cheers.
It's a mystery. It's a mystery wrapped in a riddle inside an enigma.